Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So I guess a little over a year ago, I did a tutorial on using USB devices in LXD. So today I want to kind of visit that once again, and I want to talk about taking a USB thumb drive and first of all making it available to a LXD virtual machine. And then also we're going to talk about making it available to a LXD container, which is going to be somewhat different. And I covered that in depth in a video called LXD Containers Mount Host Folders. And as I said, that was a little over a year ago. So this time I really want to focus on mostly LXD VMs. And there is a significant difference between them. A LXD virtual machine has all of the hardware virtualized in it just like a normal virtual machine, whereas a LXD container shares the kernel of the host, and so therefore we have to mount the drive in a somewhat different way. In order to get started here, I'm at my LXD host and I'm going to do an LS USB. And that lists all of the devices on the USB bus. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a thumb drive and I'm going to plug it into this system. And there you could hear the thumb drive configure itself. So now I'll do another LS USB, and we can identify here that the new device that was plugged in is listed as an A-Pacer technology thumb drive. So the important part of this is the vendor ID, which is 1005, and the device ID, which is B113. Let's first of all list all of my containers on this LXD host with a LXC list, and I have three devices, or three containers rather. One of them is test, and test is a LXD container. We're going to cover it last since it's covered in that other video, and then we're going to talk about the other two, which are an Ubuntu VM, which is a LXD virtual machine, and Win11, which is a LXD virtual machine. First of all, I'm going to start the LXD virtual machine for Ubuntu with the LXC start Ubuntu-VM. In order to associate the USB thumb drive from the LXD host over to the LXD virtual machine named Ubuntu-VM, I use the command LXC config device add the name of my container, which is Ubuntu-VM, and then I'm going to call the name of the device I'm connecting flash drive. You can call it anything you want, but then I say USB because that's what type of device it is, and then the vendor ID and the product ID that I got from the LS USB command. When I hit enter, you can hear that it bleeped in the background because it was disconnecting it from the host and connecting it to the LXD VM container, and it says device flash drive added to Ubuntu VM. Now I'm going to connect to the graphical console of the LXD VM with the LXC console Ubuntu-VM space -- type equals VGA. I hit enter and it goes ahead and signs in. So I go ahead and go to a full screen here, and you can see that there is a USB device here, ironically named thumb drive, because that's the label of the USB device when I had initialized it. So if I click on that, it goes ahead and brings up a file manager window and shows me that thumb drive. There's a file on it called sync thing, and there it is. So I can go out here and create a new folder on this drive and call it something like test. And you can see that I have writability to that particular drive. By the way, it's possible to disassociate the drive that we defined from that particular VM with the command LXD config device remove Ubuntu-VM flash drive, and it will say device flash drive removed from Ubuntu VM. In order to associate the flash drive with our Windows instance, I can simply do LXD config device add Win11 flash drive USB, and then the vendor ID and the product ID. So the command is the same. The only thing that's changed is the name of the instance, which in this case is Win11. Now it says device flash drive added to Win11, and I'll go ahead and do a LXD start Win11 since I had not started it yet. In order to connect to my Windows graphical user interface, I do a similar command that I did with the LXD VM, which is LXD console Win11 -- type equals VGA, and it goes ahead and launches that Windows interface. I'll just go ahead and make that full screen. I'll click on it and type in my password. Once I type in my password, I can go ahead and go over to this PC, and that'll open the PC up, and you can see that device thumb drive is there. When I click on it, we now have the sync thing over here. We also have the test folder, and we can go ahead and create something else by doing a new text document, and we can say new from Windows. And it goes ahead and creates that. Of course, I could go in and edit this and put any text I want in it, something like test text. Save that out. And there we go. So now I've shut down my Windows 11 virtual machine, and I'm back at my LXD host. And if I do a LXD list, both the Ubuntu-VM and the Windows 11 VM are both shut down, and as well as my test container, which we've not messed with yet. So now that they're shut down, back at the host, I can do a df command. And down here you can see that we have a device called media/scot/thumb drive, and that's what we get from inserting the thumb drive. And if I do an ls on media scot thumb drive, here we are, new from Windows text, sync thing, and the test folder are all down here in this folder. So when we're not talking about a LXD VM, but instead we're talking about a LXD container, things change. So we're really not able to go out and add a device and be able to mount it from the LXD container, because that's not really allowed. So instead of that, what we're going to do is we're going to do LXD start on the container, not VM, but the container test. And now that we have that container started, instead of doing what we did previously, we're going to do a different command. And this command was covered in my video, LXD containers mount host folders. So I say LXD config device add, test is the name of the container. I'm just calling the device flash drive because you give it some arbitrary name. But this time, instead of being a USB device, this is a disk device. And I say the source of the disk device is /media/scot/thumb drive, which is what you just saw me list out from the LXD host here. But then I'm associating that inside the container with the folder called /home/scot thumb drive. And it's notable to point out that I created that thumb drive folder before executing this particular command. So now I have the device flash drive added to test, and I'll do a LXC shell over to test. It connects to test. I'm going to do an SU over to the Scott account, and I'm going to do an LS, and you can see that there is a thumb drive folder. I'm going to CD into thumb drive, and in thumb drive I'll do an LS, and there again we see the new from Windows text, the syncthing.txt, and the test folder, as well as the system volume information. Now, you would think that you'd be able to go ahead and do a touch on my file, which would create a file over there called my file, but we're going to get a permission denied. And it's beyond the scope of this video to talk about exactly how we can fix that problem. But if you're interested in how to allow containers to write to these devices, then go watch my video entitled LXD Containers Mount Host Folders. Anyway, that's it for today, so please subscribe and like to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.